We know the festive season a lot of the time, Ndipo, gets quite hectic on our roads. I almost wonder gore a ke boloi kana gwa bo go diragalang, because it's almost kore ebile anong it's as if ga go nna Easter re expecta gore di bus di shwe, ga go nna Christmas ra itse gore di accident di a go diragala. What's going on? Is there something like that though?
Thank you, Cathy, for the answer. I'm not sure what to say, but like in every life situation, when people get money, we know festive season, hello, people would have had the double pays, this and that. People get excited, and adults really get excited more than kids. So their driving ability becomes something else. And some people nowadays, we realize they target buses as a way of committing suicide, for example. I would give you an example. I had a very terrible accident. I think not even a month from now, my bus burnt to ashes. It's probably something that you haven't seen. We had an accident. We collided. An oncoming car hit the bus. That bus burnt to ashes.
What would have happened for a bus to burn to ashes?
We only God knows. I remember I was traveling from Francistown. I was coming to Soroe. When I landed to Soroe, they called me to say we had an accident. We were coming from Gaborone going to Soroe. The private car was coming from Maharape heading the Gaborone direction. I think the lady tried to overtake, so she had to face the oncoming bus. We don't know whether it was lack of experience or it was whatever it was. She ended up plunging herself into the bus. The bus tried to run away. And because of the impact was too high. Then that car bent and immediately it touched the bus. The bus bent to ashes. So you'd ask yourself, you know, those things happen. I've seen it happen to me, not to anybody else. So you'd realize that I remember we had to go to the scene and the A1 was packed because it was a month end. It was on the 30th.
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My name is Cathy Malejane, and on this show, we like to speak to trendsetters. We like to speak to people who are certainly making waves in the industry. And you know what? I like to go by the moniker #CuriousCat because I always have so very many questions. Now, our guest today is CEO of a transport and plant hire company. He has actually worked in the industry that I'm currently in, that is in the media industry, and he was a production manager for the HBO series, the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. He's been named amongst Botswana's top 100 CEOs in the year of 2025. And well, he does have a background in production management, again, within the film and television industry. I'm speaking about none other, ladies and gentlemen, than Rre Ndipo Mokoka. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast.
Thank you so much.
I want to just understand, first of all, Ndipo, how you came from media to transport. What made that switch happen? Take me through that very quickly.
Hunger.
Yeah, this industry. So wait, let me understand, because when you say hunger, now you make me wonder, okay, yeah, so then how did you get into logistics and so forth? Because that requires, it's quite capital intensive, right?
Yes.
So how did you break into the market? Tell us which snakes went to lick you so we can also go and get licked by the same snakes, okay?
Yeah, Cathy, good afternoon. I worked in the media industry for quite a number of years. I mean, I remember even when BTV was set up, we were still in the industry. We were trying to navigate the industry, but things were not working out.
Yeah.
What then drove me, I got married in 2003. So I had kids who had to be looked after. I had a wife. And my job was not stable. So I was a freelancer. So basically I decided, I need to find something stable since I'm starting a family. So I had to find something So I started with small taxis.
Mm-hmm.
We call them taxis, but combis.
Mm.
I remember I was doing Gaborone Mogodisane Route 4. I was doing Gabane and I was doing Gaborone Tokeng with small 16-seater buses.
But where did you get the money to buy a combi? I mean, if you're talking more than 20 years ago, it wasn't necessarily cheap.
It wasn't necessarily cheap. Remember, I had a job.
Mm.
So I managed to get a loan from the bank, and that's how I started. I started small.
Mm.
I remember a friend I used to work with. He's called Aubrey. May his soul rest in peace. He passed on. He had a side hustle while the Chaba, I think the family comes from Chudi, and they had the background of transport.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, you know what, my friend, let me introduce you to this thing so that at least you can have a side hustle. Just that you don't rely on this job, because you know the job, the money comes in and out. So I got a loan. I bought my first combi. I raise money weekends. During the week when I'm free, I'll go to the rank, I'll hustle, get money. Bought the second one, bought the third one, bought the fourth one. Then eventually I found an opportunity to grow into the long distance haul. So I met one other guy. He was a friend of my brother, a cousin. It's called John Hulela. So he introduced me to one guy. He was called Mwaku. So he had the permits for Gaborone Serwe. So he had a Sprinter. He said, why don't you buy a Sprinter since we have 4 combis? Why are you wasting your time? This thing is just a waste of time. So I went ahead. I again got financed by Stambik. Then I bought my first Sprinter. So everything went well. I was actually driving on weekends and part-time. So eventually...
So you were actually doing the driving yourself?
I still do the driving.
Oh, nice.
I still do the
You
driving.
still, even now?
Even now.
Of which trip, of which route?
Any route.
Okay.
Gaborone Serwe, Gaborone Flight. Right now, I don't like driving.
Yeah.
I feel I'm a bit old.
Okay.
so I like to concentrate on the logistics, the management part of it. I do drive, but I don't necessarily sit behind the steering a lot like I used to. Yes, I would drive on weekends, on holidays, on when I'm free, or maybe sometimes I'll go for 2 months without a job, my film job. Then I'll decide, you know what, this let me concentrate and grow my business. And it grew. So I started from 1, 2, 3, and then eventually I found myself with 4 or 5 Sprinters. Then eventually, again, I now decided to go on the long haul, which now I started doing Gaborone Francistown. And then when I bought my first coach.
That's the Gaborone Francistown.
Yeah, Gaborone Francistown. Yes. Then eventually...
Do you remember what year that was?
I think it was 2010. I think it was around 2010. That's when I bought my first coach. And when I bought my first coach, I remember I was sitting at Scania with the MD, and then he says, I have this coach that is coming to Botswana, but I don't know who to give it to. The coach was a fully bonded coach with no windows. I think you see those modern buses. It was coming from Brazil. So they had ordered it for Botswana, and nobody was interested in getting the coach. So he said, my friend, do you think you want to try this? I said, why? We looked at the price difference. I think the price difference from a normal coach was about 1 million. Then I said, but the money is too much. He said, you know what? Try this. That might work for you. I tried it. I bought 2 actually. One with sliding windows and one with bonded windows, fully air conditioned. You know, when I got to the market received that coach with warm hands. It was actually, I think, if not the first, one of the first ones to be introduced on the Gaborone Francistown route. And because it's comfortable, it's air conditioned, for you to run, the aircon has to always work.
Yeah.
So you know what? The clients loved that. And then the second one was slidey windows. So that one we did not get much of a mileage. So I went into the third one and I bought the fully air conditioned one again, bonded windows. You know, since that time, you know, the business grew so big. People like the idea, people like the comfort, people like the air conditioning, and it will actually force you to now make sure your air conditioning is always working. And with that, you know, with the heat of Botswana and the noise and everything, you know, it really grew the business. And eventually we decided we are going to only go fully air conditioned coaches. Yes.
So that's where you are right now.
That's where we are.
What is the industry looking like right now? Is it a lucrative industry? Are you smiling, comfortable, looking good, you know, air conditioned all the way?
for a lack of a better word, it's a horrible industry.
What is it? I mean, it's not the media, so you.
Yes, it's not the media.
Yeah.
So if you look at the two, if I compare the two, they sort of run the same. The challenges are the same. The hours you put in are the same. It really requires a smart person. It really requires a hardworking person. It really requires a person who can think out of the box, because the industry is not very lucrative. It can be lucrative in the sense that once you have the numbers, then you are comfortable. If you don't have the numbers, in most cases, you get to a destination, the bus doesn't even have money for fuel. So you have to make a plan. And if I talk about money for fuel, I'm not talking small money. I'm taking a full tank to Francistown. I'm taking 6,000 pula. So imagine your bus gets to Francistown and you don't have fuel for you to return the following day, because that's your stock. Fuel is your biggest stock. And the maintenance on the bus is heavy. The tires, the wear and tear, the employees and everything. So that's why I'm saying it's a horrible industry. So you may find that you are carrying $1 million today and tomorrow you have nothing. You have a negative account. So you need to be smart as well. You need to be financially disciplined, because if you are not disciplined, you get $1 million, you go into South Africa, you eat your money, tomorrow the bus doesn't have fuel, doesn't have tires, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, and then where are you? Because you have to keep your reputation intact. Yes.
I want to get into some of the issues that have arisen, because when you talk about smart, one of the things that I looked at and I thought, okay, this is a bit smart thinking, where you've got these gentlemen, and I don't know, not every time I get into the bus rank, whether walking, anything, you have these guys who are trying to load the buses. I thought that was smart initially. Now it feels a bit like we are being harassed. But what are some of the issues that have come out? Or maybe can you explain how, or the bus loaders, what that deal is? Is it something that is done throughout? Is it something that's common in across the industry?
It's something that has become common in the industry. So we decided as a company to keep it smart in the sense that we have our own employees in every bus rank in the country. Name it Mahalape, Palape, Soroe, Letakane, Maung, Francistown. And we have uniformed people to make sure our guys are uniform 24/7. I think we are the first company to make sure, even to this day, we still dress our drivers. The way I'm dressed now is how you see our drivers on a Friday and on a Monday.
Nice.
They dress on a full suit. Yes, every day when they go to work. So every other day, there's a uniform for that particular day. So we wanted to make it smart in the sense that our guys are uniformed. They have branded cars in every bus rank, just that we can guide our customers and make sure that our customers are served right. If you forgot your luggage, or you want to inquire about the next bus, or you want anything, you actually see a branded car and you see our employee in full uniform. So you realize that those guys who are loading the buses are all over the place. They're drunk. There's a bar just by a Gaborone hotel. Somebody goes there because they're loading a bus for 12 o'clock. They come out there. Now they're drunk and they just want to harass you. Like you said, initially it was actually a very good thing, but now it's turning out to be something else. And those guys, most of them are freelancing. They'll load my bus, they'll load somebody else's bus, they'll load this, they'll load that. And now they're just being driven by money. So whoever gives them the money, they'll do whatever it takes. That's why with passengers, usually you find them that are pulling the passengers, the one with keys that are taking the keys, that are taking the bags, that are forcing you to go into a bus that you don't want. They'll be actually telling you, no, that bus is not available. You get into the next bus, then you realize you see that bus passing. Then when you ask them, they tell you, no, we took you to the bus, so what do you want? All what they do it in the name of money, so that they can earn their living. But they do it the wrong way now.
So you have uniformed people.
Yes.
That's part of the things that you do to
Yes.
ensure that your customers have a good experience.
Yes.
And speaking of a good experience, once we get into the bus, you've seen a lot of time, there'll be people coming into the bus, they're selling everything and anything from hard drives to chargers to food to, what's your take on the hawkers that are there?
That is very wrong. We set a trend in our company. Nobody goes into a bus to sell. We do have those cases where they do take a chance. We, in collaboration with the police, I remember the last incident, we had somebody in the Gaborone bus rank, a passenger forgot their bag inside the bus. This guy got in, the guy was actually cleaning the bus. He was not selling because the hawkers, we don't allow them completely into the bus. That's our rule. That is one competitive edge because our customers, they know you can go in the bus, leave your laptop, leave your phone, leave everything on the chair. You'll find it intact. And to add to that, all our buses, we have cameras. So anything and everything that has been lost in the bus, we can always go back to our footage, and that's how our customers, they know that. That's the safety feature that they like. So this guy goes into the bus. He realized the customer has left his bag. They go into the customer's bag. They find their wallet. They take the wallet out. They steal the money. They throw the wallet away. The customer calls. I forgot a bus. I asked my manager, what happened? No, he tells me this and this, and this guy was cleaning the bus. So what happened to the wallet? So the guy says, no, I haven't taken the wallet. I called him personally. I said, you know what? I know you might have done that out of ignorance. Remember, our buses have cameras. So please just tell me if you have taken that customer's money. It was 300 pula. Please take it back. My reputation is not worth 300 pula. So please take that money back so that the customer can get their wallet. And in fact, he returned the wallet without the money. And then we are asking ourselves, how did the wallet get out of the bag? Then he could not answer. I said, no, I only took the bag. I gave it to the driver. Well and good. I told him, but remember, we have CCTV cameras. So if you have taken that money, please do yourself justice. Take back that money, take back the wallet, and let's finish the case. He says, no, I didn't take the money. Went into the footage immediately. 10, 15 minutes later, I was sent to the footage. This guy was literally searching the bag. So I told my manager, please go to Borakanal police, report. He went there, they called him because he had the footage. They said, well, but what is this? Then he was actually exposed. Yes.
So that is, I think, a brilliant initiative, by the way, to have safety, in terms of making sure that there's surveillance and also just letting people know that there is surveillance. I think that's also an important aspect of it. But speaking of safety, you mentioned this in passing earlier to talk about tires and wear and tear and so on and so forth. And we've seen a lot of the time there are these accidents, and I wonder, because then we also see on the A1 the speed that happens in terms of safety and looking at things like servicing of buses and speed and so on and so forth. What is the rule on the ground, and what's your take on it as Mokoka's transport?
The rule on the ground is the bus has to drive at 100 kilometers an hour. But you really realize that practicality does not dictate otherwise. I gave you an example earlier on to say there'll be 8 buses leaving in one direction, which is from here to Mahalape. One bus is going to Maung, one is going to Orapa, one is going to Soroe, one is going to Pico, one is going to Francistown, one is going to Ugono, one is going to Palape, one is going to wherever. So we leave at 1300 hours. So when the bus leaves, if you had a bus, Cathy, where would you want your bus to be? Because the only other next destination is 200 km away. And there are 8 buses. Remember, they're going in one direction, which is how our system works. So if the bus the one who gets there first, obviously if somebody from Palape to Mahalape, from Mahalape to Palape, they'll hop in the bus that comes in first because it's a first come, first serve basis. So hence, that's why we find ourselves where we are. Because right now, we are in business. We all want money. Nobody will say, I'll go last. Then you get to the bus rank and everybody is gone. So that's the safety feature. And you realize that our business is highly capitalized business. You have to spend a lot of money. Tires are expensive. Services is expensive. Installments are expensive. Insurance is expensive. So everything is about money. And then you realize that our numbers, we have very few numbers. A bus can live in terms of the population who gets into the bus, particularly during the week, because everybody goes to work and a few people will be traveling here and there. So it's not very common for you to find a bus full. Probably we are full weekends, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday, mostly Monday when people are coming back from wherever. So that's our prime times. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have to struggle. And now you need to find a way, how do I make my business to be unique from everybody else? Yes.
We're going to continue this conversation. There are quite a number of issues I want us to touch on, and one of them includes time slots. I thought that was a radio thing, so we're going to get into that. Remember, you're listening and watching Moving Humanity Forward podcast, and we will be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Sohola Mr. from Healthcare System Solutions, and today I want to talk to you about something simple, practical, and powerful. A cardiac emergency response plan, or a SAP. You might be asking, what's that? Simply put, this is a plan that prepares your school, your workplace, your church, your sports facility to quickly and confidently respond when someone suddenly collapses, whether it's from a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, stroke, or any other medical emergency that can happen outside a hospital. Let's be honest, most places are not ready. Someone collapses, panic sets in. People freeze. And by the time EMS arrives, it's often too late. But what if that school teacher, that student, that security guard at the gate, that receptionist knew exactly what to do? That's what SAP makes possible. It transforms confusion into calm, delay into action, and fear into confidence. Whether it's that 12-year-old child at school, that colleague at work, that fellow worshiper at church, every second counts, and SAP gives your people the power to respond. At Healthcare System Solutions, we help design and implement cardiac emergency response plans in schools, corporate offices, banks, sports facilities, churches, shopping centers, hotels, and safari camps in remote areas, because cardiac arrest doesn't care where you are. Here's the big question. Is your environment ready to save a life? We will help you design a plan that fits your space, train all your staff, and install AEDs around your institution. If you're a corporate leader, a school leader, this is something you can take a lead on. Lives are not only saved by ambulances and hospitals, they can be saved by ordinary people who are prepared. And this is what SAP is all about.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Remember, you find us on TikTok, on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube by typing Moving Humanity Forward podcast. And then on Facebook, you type MHF podcast. We'll continue our conversation with one of the top 100 CEOs of 2025. And you know what? I think the fact that he regularly gets on the bus himself, he has for the longest time been the driver himself. I think these are some of the secrets to how he's gone about doing it. But let's do this, Ndipo. Let's get you to talk a little bit about time slots, because you mentioned that, and it's a thing, and it costs money, like big money. And I know on radio we have prime time. So I want to imagine it's something very similar on or rather in the logistics world. Take me through it.
Yes, each bus company is allocated a time slot. I'll give you an example of Gaborone Francistown. From the morning, there's a 4:30 bus, 5 o'clock, 5:30. Every 30 minutes, there's a bus leaving from Gaborone to Francistown, vis-a-vis Francistown, Gaborone, or any other village. There are time slots, yes, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, when we got into the industry, some of us, we found that all those slots were actually blocked for the main cities. Like your Gaborone Francistown, your Maung, your Serwe, they were actually allocated to other people. So for you to acquire a slot, you had to buy the business from somebody else, and it costs money. I remember I bought.
Wait, so you bought the Serwe one, the first one?
Every permit I own at the moment, there's not a single permit that I've ever applied for and been given by government.
Yeah.
Everything that you see in my name, I've bought it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that, because now it looks like permits are a whole industry on their own as well. But coming back to the time slots, right? So you said, so which ones are the prime one? Is there such a thing as a prime time slot?
There are, particularly the morning ones. If you remember back in the days, the Seabelo time slots, which were like 6 o'clock in the morning from Francistown to Gaborone to Francistown. They were the prime times. And particularly, the reason why they are sort of prime is because everybody wants to leave early and arrive and also connect, because we know from Gaborone to Francistown, you connect your villages, your Masunga, your Marapong, your every other village, and you want to go probably even across the border. So you would want to leave early so that you connect to the next location in time. So those were the prime times. But also now, what I realized as I got into the industry, you can make any time prime.
Oh.
Yes.
Take
You can
me
make
through
it
what you mean by
prime in the sense that you'd have, it depends on the bus you provide, it depends on the service you provide, and it depends on how you run your company. So people want a proper service. Unfortunately, you find that Botswana, we are used to substandard service. And some of us, we've been around the world. We've seen how it works. We've learned from it. And we want to bring it home. We've brought it home, actually, not we want to bring it home. We keep learning.
Yeah.
Yes, we brought it home to say, you can teach your people to say, I can leave here at 1 o'clock, for example, to go to Francistown. People would come for a service because you're providing a proper service. Yes, you're giving them the right tool.
So you've seen that happen with the time slots, but how much are we talking for this time slot?
It depends. Like if you look at, if you want to buy a business from Gaborone to Francistown, probably you can spend 2 million on one time slot.
2 million pula.
Yeah. When you buy, because you are buying a bus and together.
Plating 100 pula.
Exactly. You are buying a bus together with a permit. If you look at Gaborone Maung, for example, I'm giving it as an example, you probably spending, you can't be spending anything less than $1 million for that business for you to acquire it.
Wow.
So the reason why I'm broke, a lot of my money is gone into buying the businesses.
Wow.
Because you have to do that, because those businesses will be owned by whoever.
Yeah.
So the only prime thing is for you, if you want to really get into the business, which really takes a long time for you to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now you invest in the business, and after investing in the business, you've probably bought a scrap bus. Now you need a proper bus to put in that route to actually run it your own way. So it takes a toll on you financially.
And it requires that financial discipline
it requires a lot of financial discipline.
Spoke about.
Because today you are carrying 2 million, tomorrow you have a negative account. So you need to be smart and you need to balance, how to play your cards.
Yeah. Well, speaking of knowing how to play our cards, we've seen, especially, I don't know if there's the bus operators or the conductors who, in my mind, play their cards very smart, but I wonder what that does to your bottom line with regards to luggage and parcels, right? Because a lot of the time it seems to be under the table. Maybe take us through what should be happening. If I am wanting to send my friend in Maung diapers or whatever, how should I be going about it, and what's actually happening in some instances?
What should actually happen? You should actually go to the bus, you hand it to a conductor, they give you a proper receipt. And in most cases, you find that those people will threaten you because you are desperate, you want your things to get to the next destination quickly. Then they'll tell you, no, we don't issue receipt, we are not allowed to carry luggages, blah, blah, whatever it is.
So we are allowed to send our parcels.
Yes, you are allowed to. Yes. You are allowed to send your parcels. Yes. But when you send a parcel, my advice would be get a proper receipt. Yeah. Because if you don't have a proper receipt, how do you come back to me as the owner of the company in case your luggage is lost and want to claim it from me? Because you don't have a contract between me and you. You only had a contract with my employee who is actually stealing from me. That is very common.
Under the table.
Yes, that is, they're putting it under the table. That is very common. Yeah. And they will be telling you, we are not allowed to carry luggage, or we take luggage, but we can't give you a receipt. This thing is not allowed. So yet they're lying.
How do you price that? Like if I'm sending a car part versus me sending my friend baby clothing?
It depends on the value.
Okay.
Luggages are not regulated. So it's an agreement between me and you. If, for example, I'm taking your laptop worth 8,000 to Maung, I would not charge you 50 pula. Because if I lose that laptop, remember it's my responsibility now. How do I replace my laptop? Versus a letter or an ID copy, which is going to Maung, I would probably charge you 100 pula. But with your laptop, I need to look at the value of what I'm carrying. To say, if I'm going to charge you 600 pula, at least if anything happens, I also have something to leverage on. And that will actually give you more responsibility to make sure that you take care of that thing, because it's expensive and you've actually taken somebody's money. You need to deliver.
Is it insured? Like if I put my
luggages are not insured.
They're not insured. So
it's a risk that we me and you will be taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if something happens, then what is the due process that I should follow?
The due process is you need to report to the office. You need to bring your receipt.
Yeah.
I put this luggage in your bus. It was a laptop. And unfortunately, we would not be 100% sure how much it was. It will just be using our good faith to say, okay, you can't just come and lie. And if somebody comes to you and lie and say, I've given a laptop for 8,000 and you look at them and you realize this person is not telling the truth, then you can tell. And if somebody is genuinely telling the truth, you can actually tell that, no, this person has been genuine. So you as a company need to replace. Yes.
So the company then bears that.
The company has to bear that, because at the end of the day, it was in the company's property. It was everything that the company, because the company is going to benefit from that.
So if it's under the table, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you come to me and say your parcel was sent by the bus and me and you don't have anything. We don't have a contract, because my contract will be the receipt. So if somebody has taken it and put it under the table, so I'm not aware of that. Yes.
So that is what normally happens, or rather the way that it should be going,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So in terms of how that assists you in your operation, why is that something that you've even started to do? Because it looks like the losses are a lot on your part if something goes wrong.
It's sometimes you do it because you want to help somebody, and then through your good heart of trying to help, then it develops into something else. Then that's where you find yourself entangled in all that. And Botswana, they believe in, I want to send my thing by bus.
Yeah.
So they believe in the bus, because they know the bus in the next 2 hours, it will be in the next destination.
True.
And my child needs to go somewhere. I need to send them money. I need to send them an ID copy certified. They need it at land board. So the bus is the quickest mode of transport that can get to a next destination. That's why they rely on the buses a lot.
Let's get now to permits, because we spoke about it just now, to say it's almost the whole industry on its own. I wonder if there were any time slots even available as you got into the business, or everything is all bought up and you have to buy these things. And I also wonder in terms of, I don't know whether to say regulation or just supervision of those permits, to say, who's holding these slots and are they servicing them? Is there, what's the status quo, to say, if you have bought a slot and you're not servicing it, what happens next? What's the procedure?
The procedure is such that in 3 months, you need to have applied your slot at least once. That is the law. So if you apply it maybe not regularly, maybe once, just to satisfy the regulator, it's fine, which is a bad thing, because you've gotten that permit to service the people. So now that means if now you apply it, let's say once in 90 days, that means you are not serving the purpose. Because we have a contract. Once you get a permit, you have a contract between government and the person who wants to travel, to say in every 30 minutes there's a bus that has to leave.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, if you are not going to be servicing your time slot, that means you are making other people suffer. Yes, who are wanting to travel, and you are making other people suffer who are wanting to have taken the advantage to trade in that time slot.
So if somebody has a slot and they're not servicing it, you cannot just come and say, but there's no bus here, so let me just put mine.
No, you can't.
Oh.
Basically, what you need to do first, you go to transport. There are timetables. You need to get a timetable for Gaborone Hukunzi. I'm giving it as an example. You need to look who has been allocated, because the transport department will actually tell so and so has been allocated this time slot. And you have to go find so and so and say, I'm interested in applying your slot. So do we agree? Do we go on a rental basis, or do I buy it straight from you? Or what do we agree? And sometimes slots would have been allocated and then somebody would not have been renewed the permit, and probably the permit has long lapsed. Then that's when now you can go and apply a transport. The unfortunate thing now, when you get to transport to apply, that person can come and defend the permit to say, no, I have not been applying. I've returned to transport. Here are the letters to say I'm still trying to source a bus. That's how the system works. So you find that all the time slots are blocked, and blocked not in the name of the bus plying, but blocked in terms of paperwork. Yes.
You make it seem as if there's not a lot of synergy between the Department of Transport and yourselves. I'm aware of a bus and taxi association. is there no relationship between them and the Department of Transport, Road and Transport? And also, while we're speaking of that, because every time I think of the Bus and Taxi Association, I think of pricing. Who is in charge of that? Because I know they are the ones a lot of the time who lobby to say we need prices to be checked, what is going on. And speaking of pricing, I'd also like us to touch base on local versus international, if I can call it that, because there's quite a lot of disparity there.
We are locally regulated by government.
Okay.
Usually what we do, we lobby government to say fuel has been increased. So we want to ask for an increment.
Yeah.
So in the international market, you charge what you want to charge. There's no, government doesn't regulate.
Oh.
This is where our industry is actually lacking. And also talking of pricing, if you come, let's say with a coach or with a standard bus or whatever you bring, so long as the government says in this route, we want 65 seaters. Even if the one that goes to Ramoswa, you can bring it to Francistown, so long as it qualifies in the 65-seater sitting range, you can put it in there. So pricing, we charge the same price. So we've been trying to lobby government to say, let's have standard, to say a standard bus will cost so much, a coach will cost so much, this will cost so much. But government says, no, we've given it the permit. The prices are the same. We are regulating whether you bring a standard bus or you bring a coach or whatever you bring. So it's up to you. But the standard price remains the same. So with the international market, it's very different. I'll give you an example. The fare from here to Francistown is 155 pula.
Yes.
Francistown is about 450 Ks. The fare from here to Joburg is about 500 pula. Look at the disparity.
It's more than 3 times.
It's more than 3 times.
Distance, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Francistown is even further by 100 Ks.
Oh.
Yes. The same coach I use from Gaborone to Francistown is the same coach that my competitor is using from Gaborone to Joburg. We buy them in Brazil, same price, same maintenance, same everything. But look at my prices.
Fuel,
yes, I'm spending more fuel, maintenance. Look at our roads, and then versus the roads that you go to Johannesburg. And also in South Africa, when you go there, there's not issues of speed because you load and then you know I cannot load in Johannesburg. Whatever you have left with here, if your bus is full, it's full. If it's not full, there's no pick and drops. Usually you leave here, you guys go straight to Johannesburg, you drop. You pick in Johannesburg, you come straight to Botswana. So if you look at business-wise, they are more in business than we are. Because at least, again, crossing the border, we have the numbers. So locally, you find that very few people use buses. And I don't blame them why few people use the buses. Because if you look at our industry, we have a lot to do to make sure people come to the buses. That's one other area that we probably need to correct. Yes. So that we get more people to come to use the bus. The environments in the bus, and the bus rank is not very conducive.
I actually do want us to speak, and maybe we'll just talk about some, I don't know, word of advice that you think could help, because ultimately when we talk about public transport, we're always trying to encourage more people to use it, but at the same time there are quite a number of barriers to why they don't. So we'll touch base a little bit on that one. But I wanted us to just stick on this issue of the Department of Transport as well as the Bus and Taxi Association, and also pricing, regulation, and so on and so forth. Let's talk about what the Bus and Taxi Association does. Let's touch base on that.
What the Bus and Taxi Association
does? What's the mandate? And you talked about lobbying for pricing.
Yes.
What are some of the other things that the Bus and Taxi Association does?
Our responsibility is to make sure that passengers are transported safely. We have regular buses to all the destinations. We talk to government, we advise each other, but in a lot of times you find that we are at loggerheads. We are always in court with government because they don't want to do things the way we want them done, and also we probably want to do things our own way, and then we are always at loggerheads, which our mandate actually should be, how do we get transport people from A to B safely all the time? But then you find that our interests are different. I'm a business person. I want to make money. Government is trying to regulate, and in most cases you find that we don't actually make ends meet. Then we are at loggerheads. We are supposed to be facilitating the safe transportation of passengers locally from point A to point B. But because our interests are different, then that's where we really find ourselves at loggerheads.
So that relationship does it work? Are they in silos, or is there actually a relationship?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So the Department of Transport is making decisions and issuing permits without much involvement from the Bus and Taxi Association.
Yes.
And what the Bus and Taxi Association are trying to do, it's not really something important, if I can say, to the Department of Transport.
Yes, it's not important in the sense that we've asked as the Bus and Taxi Association to have a membership in the decision making of issuing a permit. And government says, no, you can't. Why? I understand why, because a lot of us, we have interests.
So you are actually a member of the Bus and Taxi?
I am the secretary of the Bus and Taxi Association.
Yeah.
The Bus Association. We have the Bus and the Taxi Association. So I'm actually the secretary on the buses side.
Yeah.
Yes. We engage government. They do call us for meetings, for decisions. But sometimes, the regulator will just do things their own way. I'll give an example. So every holiday, we used to have meetings to say, okay, here is a holiday coming. How do you think the movement is going to be? Gaborone, Francistown, how many buses are we putting? Gaborone, Maung, this and that and this and that. Then immediately after the holiday, we'll sit again and evaluate how did the past holiday come about. So now I think the relationship has soured. Now they do their own thing there. They issue permits during the holidays and everybody travels. And then you find that they now issue permit and they don't come to regulate. And when somebody has been given a permit, say from Gaborone to Francistown, there are people in Gaborone, the bus will be full going to Gaborone. When you get to Francistown, our movements are one-sided. It's either people are coming from Gaborone going to Francistown or Francistown coming to Gaborone. So that person who has been issued by a temporary permit, when they get to Francistown, they don't have a slot to take them back to Gaborone. So what do? They just now apply in front of you. When you try to complain or you confront them, that's when now they tell you, no, I've been issued a permit, because the regulator now is not there to say, you are not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? They've just issued the permit, and that's where we actually have misunderstanding with the department. And then that needs you now as a business person to be there present. Whether it's in Francistown, it's in Palape, when the bus comes, it's not that time slot. You just have to use your force to say, you are not going to load in front of my bus. If you want to load, please. Basically, yes, it's a business. So you have to protect it with everything you have. You have to be present. It's not a remote business. Yes, you have to be there. And I would wake up every morning, go to Palape, for example. That's where my base is, because my bus will be coming from Francistown, be coming from Soroya, be coming from wherever. And then Palape, I know is my biggest, is my central point. So I would make sure that all my buses load before I decide to which direction I'm heading to in that particular day, whether I'm going to Francistown, I'm going to Maung, or I'm going to Gaborone, or I'm local, to make sure that the buses are loading without any disturbance. Because as the owner, when they see you, they'll respect you.
Yeah.
But if you are not there, everybody will do as they pleases. Yes.
We're going to continue this conversation because I wasn't aware, we get physical in this industry.
You have to.
And I want to talk, because we're getting into the festive season, a little bit about what happens during the festive season. We'll continue this conversation. But as we do, let me let you know that at Healthcare Systems Solutions, we believe that every single healthcare provider deserves the tools as well as the training to deliver high quality care, no matter where they are. From Botswana to South Africa and beyond, HSS works to develop local capacity to train instructors and to expand access to life-saving training programs. Together, we're creating a stronger chain of survival and a healthier future for all. Go ahead and discover more on the website. It is www.healthcaresystems.co.bw. We'll be right back.
Life comes with surprises. Some good, some not so much.
But whatever happens, you can face it head on.
Assure Wealth gives you more than just insurance. We give you protection for every part of your life, your home, your car, even your travel.
We help businesses stay resilient with commercial covers from theft, fire, public liability, and group covers.
Got a team? We've got you covered too. Life cover, disability, funeral schemes, even income continuation.
Our Tapa funeral plan is just one way to ensure dignity and peace of mind. Fa o nna le mathata a tshoganetso.
Need cover for travel?
Done.
Aviation? Agriculture? Even political riots?
We've got you.
Professional indemnity?
Of course.
At Assure Wealth, we are not just brokers, we are your insurance partners for life.
Insurance that protects what matters. Insurance done right.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast, and we've just found out that you physically probably need to lift some weights if you're in this industry, because it can get just that rough in the industry. But speaking of rough, we know the festive season a lot of the time, Ndipo, gets quite hectic on our roads. I almost wonder because it's almost it's as if ga go nna Easter re expecta gore dibase di shwe, ga go nna Christmas ra itse gore di accident di a go diragala. What's going on? Is there something like that though?
Thank you, Cathy, for the answer. I'm not sure what to say, but like in every life situation, when people get money, we know festive season, hello, people they have had the double pays, this and that. People get excited, and adults really get excited more than kids. So their driving ability becomes something else. And some people nowadays, we realize they target buses as a way of committing suicide, for example. I would give you an example. I had a very terrible accident. I think not even a month from now, my bus burnt to ashes. It's probably something that you haven't seen. We had an accident. We collided. An oncoming car hit the bus. That bus burnt to ashes.
What would have happened for a bus to burn to ashes?
We only God knows. I remember I was traveling from Francistown. I was coming to Soroe. When I landed to Soroe, they called me to say we had an accident. We were coming from Gaborone going to Soroe. The private car was coming from Maharape heading the Gaborone direction. I think the lady tried to overtake, so she had to face the oncoming bus. We don't know whether it was lack of experience or it was whatever it was. She ended up plunging herself into the bus. The bus tried to run away. And because of the impact was too high. Then that car bent and immediately it touched the bus. The bus bent to ashes. So you'd ask yourself, those things happen. I've seen it happen to me, not to anybody else. So you'd realize that I remember we had to go to the scene and the A1 was packed. Because it was a month end. It was on the 30th.
Speaking of the A1 real quick, there have been talks, I don't know how serious they are, about it being made into a double lane highway and road and so forth. What's your take on that?
My take would be that needs to be done like yesterday. I remember when President Boko came, he really said, those who can afford, please come forward and get that project on the line. Because if you look at the A1, it really gets full. It's really, you can't even overtake. With a bus, it's even worse. Because you are carrying so many passengers. A bus is long, it's heavy, and for you to navigate in that route. I mean, back in the days when you used to go with the sprinters, you'd go to Soroe, Gaborone 4 times. Nowadays, you can't do it. Because once it's a month end, the road is all locked. You're just going to be driving at 100 from here to Maharape. There's no way to overtake. There's no way to... We used to do those return trips. Right now, it's not possible. Just because of the traffic. The A1 is really packed. So it's also very dangerous. The way people drive, it's out of this world.
Okay, so let's talk about something that we've seen mushrooming a lot, and I don't know whether we call them in English what it is, but Baba, I think a lot of people think they're very useful because ba re thusa ba tla ka dinako tse di bus di seong ebile ba tla ko di bus di sa yeng. What's your take on them?
We are fighting a losing battle with those guys. Unfortunately, the world has transformed in a different way. Also, I think it's a lack of us providing a service to the normal people to say, if we had a bus in every slot, people would know that there are buses. Unfortunately, sometimes it's that lack of transport, which people now take an advantage on. Then they try and fill up that gap. And in trying to fill up that gap, it has really become a disaster.
Why is it a disaster?
It's a disaster in the sense that they will actually be loading even at the bus rank. If you look at the Gaborone bus rank, there are those pirates within the bus rank. If you are wanting to go towards the bus, they'll tell you, no, we have a 7-seater going to Palapi, we have a 7-seater going to Francistown, we have a 7-seater going to da-da-da-da, because you want to travel, you don't want to sit in the bus for that long. And the other mistake that we also make as bus operators, sometimes because you have to leave and probably you find that you have 5 passengers or you have 10 passengers, you say, you know what, I'll drop a line. I'm not going to leave. And imagine that customer has been sitting there probably for 30, 45 minutes and they want to travel and you transfer them to the next bus. And then the next bus probably doesn't leave as well. So a person can spend 2-3 hours sitting at the bus rank, which is actually also a mistake on our side, which we need to acknowledge. And then these guys found a niche and then they're trying to fill up that. And in trying to fill up that, now it really becomes a problem. Going back to the question of the A1, that's why the road is so congested. And also now these Nigerians, I understand you get a car from them and you pay every day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can get a car and you pay 100 pula every day. After so many months, you own the car. So the guys who go there, they get a car. Obviously, where do you go? Well, pirate. And then you make a living out of it. Because whoever 100 pula, you remain with 100 pula, your children are able to survive. Lack of employment, which is actually so rampant in this country as well. So it's actually teaching us ways which are not proper in trying to earn a living. Yes, so it really becomes a problem.
I'd like you to speak a little bit. I don't know if I can say words of advice or just tips, because I like how you've been speaking and saying, look, I acknowledge on our end this is a problem, or we can do this to do it better. So just take me through some of the things you think we need to be thinking about and we need to be implementing just in order to make service that much smoother. Because one of the things that you said as we were off camera was just that, you know, Botswana are prepared to pay. If you let Botswana know that there's a service available at this time and it'll be a good service, it's reliable. And I want to believe, I agree with you, because same, right? If you can promise me the bus will be there on time, that it'll be air conditioned, it'll be clean, it'll, you know, all of those conveniences, we'll take it up. So what are some words of advice, some tips that you can give?
We've always had meetings with my colleagues. And I've always told them that the mistake we make as bus operators, we buy the bus that we want as bus operators. You are not buying a bus that is wanted by your customers. I'll give you a typical example. A bus flies from here to Mau. I'm bringing you Cathy, a standard bus. It does not recline. It does not do anything. You are talking of a 13-hour journey, for example. Imagine you are sitting in that standard chair for 13 hours. No air conditioning, no nothing, no comfort. Windows are open. It's noisy from all over the place. You are going to probably cross 3 different environments. It will be hot in Gaborone, it will be raining in Soroe, it will be windy in Reikops, and it will be sunny in Mau. So imagine you are sitting in that bus. So if we were to plan our things right, you would actually, that's the reason why I always go into the bus. I'll just get into a bus, I'll sit down, I'll listen to my customers' comments. What is it that you want? What is it that you would like us to improve? And sometimes I sit without even wearing an uniform. So a lot of people, they don't even know me. They don't even recognize. They don't even believe I'm the owner. So that's the good part about me. So I'll just sit there and listen. Those comments, negative and positive. Sometimes we'll reach out to them and say, what would you like us to do for you? How would you want us to improve on our service? And they would actually be saying, no, we want you to put Wi-Fi. We want you to do this. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. So that actually also helps. This is why I'm saying Botswana are willing to pay, so long as you give them a proper service, so long as you give them customer service is one thing that we are lacking in this country. You know, the problem that we always have, we think that people who go on a bus are broke people, for a lack of a better word. So we're not taking those customers seriously. But how do you not take somebody who is paying your salary seriously? Because that's the person that you want them to come to the bus every day. So now we think because hawana koloi, that's why you come to the bus. That is old-fashioned. The people have their own cars. They want to leave their own Range Rovers and whatever they can to go on the bus. And I've always advised my colleagues to say, when you buy a bus, look into the fact of what does your customer want? How much distance are you traveling? Imagine you having to travel such a distance in a very standard bus with no aircon, with open windows, this and that. We acknowledge buses are expensive, but sometimes you must try and at least match the standard, match the distance, so that at least if that customer comes back to your bus, it's comfortable, it's welcoming.
Let me ask you this, because on top of this, you have actually, and by the way, you've run your business quite successfully for how many years now?
By 2006.
So almost 20 years. Next year, you'll be 20 years in the business. Yeah. So you recently won or were named one of the top 100 CEOs. And you sounded, even as we were speaking off camera, someone who doesn't really want those accolades. I want to know, was that something that you took and like let it resonate and say, yeah, I'm the man? Or it's just one of those where you're like, you know what, I'm doing something right. Let me keep moving. How did you receive that award?
I wasn't actually expecting it. You know, sometimes you're doing something good and you don't actually realize you are doing something good. So when that came, it came as a shock. I have a friend by the name of Roger. So this guy is always around me. I don't know what he wants behind me, but he's always around me. So the guy says, no, the reason why we are always together is because I know this thing is not going to make your head big. You are not going now to neglect your business. To say, because I'm always, Monday to Friday, I'm always in the bus. I'm traveling up and down, wanting to see how my customers are being treated, wanting to see the condition of the bus, wanting to see any other challenge that my employees face or any other challenge. Before they report anything to me, I know the likelihood is A, B, C, D for it to have happened in that manner. And always I've kept customer service as my top notch. That's why I've sort of reduced from driving, and I would really want to concentrate on my customers, because the moment you take your customers seriously, they would support you. They would want to support your service. And we have a relationship where it's a very small family with our customers. We have a personal relationship. They can call me anytime. I remember one customer wanted to call the owner of the bus. They had a complaint, and the owner of the bus says, no, I don't take complaints, speak to my manager. And that was such an insult. I would believe that was such an insult to that customer. And he says, I would never go into that bus.
Yeah.
Yes. So because there is that, people want that personal relationship with when they're complaining, and you need to correct. And I've always said, you know what, let it be customer first.
Yeah.
Yes. Serve a customer. Even my employees, I've taught them to say, if once somebody sits down, you don't start demanding back, no. Please make sure the people are seated, everything is fine. And then from there, that's when you can start collecting your money. Make sure the bags are, somebody's not sitting with the bags on their laps. Make sure the bags go to the right places. And make sure you do things right so that the customer feels welcome. Adjust the chair for them. Check if the air conditioning is fine. Check if the charging ports are working. Check this, the Wi-Fi, for example. You know, people go into those, they come into those little things. That's the one that is actually be bringing them back to you as a business. Because if you don't check on those things, you know, we live in a technological world now. You know what? Everybody wants to be on WhatsApp. Everybody wants to be on Facebook. And it has to work. You know, we subscribe a lot of money in that. And just to make sure our customers are given that service. And some of them, they would actually not be talking to customers. They'll just go and sit down. And that is not our policy. Our policy is, as a bus conductor, you must be engaging with your customers, knowing what they want. Sometimes it's too cold or it's too hot, or somebody is going to Mahalape for the first time. They don't even know where they're dropping. So you need to be engaging with your customers all the time. That is your job.
Let's talk about the future. What plans do you have? What are you working on? What's coming next from you?
Whew, I had thought by this time I would have retired, Cathy. My years are gone. So unfortunately, my children don't want to take over the business. They are not interested. They are just saying, with the bus business, unfortunately, they're all girls. So they are saying, no, not with public transport. So now we had to up our game. And actually, we have great news. We have new babies arriving. from end of this month.
How the babies what they were the bus?
Kotoa di bus, ke bona bana.
Mm.
I mean, our business ke di bus.
Yeah.
We have new babies arriving.
Mm.
Yeah, we're trying to better the fleet. Unfortunately, the pricing has just gone out of the roof, but we have to keep the standard. We have to, the service that we have promised Botswana, we have to keep it. And we have new arrivals. So very soon we'll be launching.
How many employees do you have? How many people are you working? What routes do you currently service?
The routes we currently now, we used to go all over the country. So I had to trim them down.
Why?
Because I felt the workload was too much. I had thought by this time I would step back and let others run. But unfortunately, I don't have that support. So I had to trim it down. Right now, I'm only doing Gaborone Francistown, Gaborone Serowe, Gaborone Maung, and Serowe Francistown. I just wanted to center them so that I have control. A bus is something like a bar. I'll give it an example as a bar. You cannot run a bar remotely. You have to be present as the owner. You have to see, because a driver can drive with a finished tire. They don't care. They can drive with a broken window. They can drive with anything. So the reason why I had to trim it down is because I would travel from Serowe. Most of the time I'm staying in Serowe. I'll travel from Serowe, go to Palape. Then I'll be able to see all my fleet in one day. Then I'll be able.
Oh, because all of them pass through.
They pass through Palape.
Yeah.
They pass through Palape, whether it's Palape to Maung or Gaborone to Francistown or Serowe to Gaborone or Serowe to Francistown. They'll all pass through Palape. So I'll make a stop there. I'll make sure I've seen all of them. I've inspected all of them. I've talked to every driver to say, okay, what is your problem? What is this working? Is that working? Is this working? Is that working? So I used to do Kharagadi, even Khansi, Hukunzi and stuff. So I realized it was such a stretch. So it really did not work out for me. And the management part of it was so heavy. So I decided I'm growing up, so I need to put my eggs in one basket.
I mean, you mentioned wanting to retire. Are you not needing a manager? You know how many youth are out here needing jobs? Why are you not hiring a manager to do that for you?
You can try and hire a manager. It's not possible. It's not practical. The problem with this business is so highly capitalized. I've learned from my previous colleagues. They've engaged their own kids, not even hiring a manager.
Yeah.
They've given them to our own kids to run the business. And those are the very same kids who have run the business down. Because what they do, they realize that this weekend we've made, or this holiday, because holiday time is our prime time, they would realize we've made 2 million. What they do, they get their money, they buy a Golf 7, they go into South Africa, they drink in every nightclub in South Africa. When they come back, the business has to continue. That means there's no money. There's no management. So hiring a manager in this highly capital, I've tried it before.
Yeah.
I've failed. I've really failed. I'm looking for one. Maybe somebody's out there wanting to, I'll gladly be able to hire somebody and give them that responsibility, because you need somebody who's actually highly disciplined financially. Money that should not excite you.
Yeah.
Yes. People always see you maybe driving an expensive Mercedes-Benz. They'll be like, okay, you have money. Yeah, maybe you have money, but you should understand where the money is coming from. You should know that the business has to be maintained, and the car you are also driving in should also be maintained. So you need to strike a balance. So it's not a thing of saying you always sit in holidays. So my rule is to work hard and play hard.
Work hard and play hard.
Yeah, so I do go on a lot of holidays. Yeah, I've been around the world. That's when I get to learn all these things. So when I go outside the country, mostly I'll take a bus, a competitor's bus, sit there, see how they do things. Take, for example, a South African bus, Intercape, for example, go into that bus, see how they do things. And I'll come and implement it back home. I'll go to Europe and see how their bus system works. Whatever works within us, I'll try and implement it back home. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today. I think I think we can have a lot to learn from the way you've implemented your business model. And I'm very excited about the fact that you have really taken things from outside of the country and brought them into Botswana. And we wish you many, many more good years of doing good service. I don't know if you have any last words as we close off our conversation.
Last words? Last words? I'll say transport is not a child's play. The business, if you run the business, you gotta be disciplined. It's heavy. I mean, I wake up every morning at 4 o'clock, but I don't sleep before 11 a.m. 11 p.m. like, for example. So I thought by now I would have reduced my workload, but unfortunately it's getting worse because the more you get more buses, when you get new buses, people expect a lot from you.
Yeah.
So unfortunately in a month's time, I'm getting married. So I hope it will work out the same because my family, my new family will need my time. My business will need my time. So how do I divide the time? So yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
The advice will be work hard and play hard. And then, make a balance in life.
I love it. Work hard, play hard, but find the balance somewhere in all of that. And don't forget, Cathy's an MC, okay? This has been another episode of Moving Humanity Forward podcast. We'll see you next week.